Negative 20, exactly. So I end up with negative 20 equals negative 20, which is true. Therefore, answer choice C is correct. Okay, so C is correct. And I'm not going to go through it right now because I do want to move on. I want to make sure we get to as many problems as possible. It turns out if you try it, E would also be correct. So for number 1, the correct answers were A, C, and E. Do I have any remaining questions on how to do this type of problem? Awesome. So that's problem number 1. Let's go to problem number 2. So for this one, I actually already have some stuff written because I was working on this with my in-school kids, my physical kids. So we realized that we're looking for the equivalence point because the question is asking me what is the solution to the equation f of x equals g of x. So I'm looking for the place where they are equal. But then we realized that the intersection point is kind of floating in the middle of nowhere. So we have to figure out what number is it falling on the x-axis. So what is that number right there? And can anyone tell me what they got and if you think you're correct?
It kind of looks like it's on the negative side, so I would say negative 0.75.
Yeah, so it is on the negative side, so we can rule out C and D. And since it's a little bit to the right of the negative 1, that's the negative 1 right there. So it's not on the negative 1, it's a little bit less than the negative 1. So I know that that's going to be answer choice A. So with this type of problem, the hardest part is estimating which number it's on. So you really have to look carefully and then look at the answer choices and see which one matches the best. All right, so that was number 2. Do I have any questions on number 2? Okay. Number 3, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite type of problem. Would anyone like to read? Anyone who's at home?
The expected value in dollars of laptop B is initially 400 and decreases by 90 each year. Let G represent the expected value of laptop B after X years. How does the graph of G compare to the graph of X?
Awesome. Thank you, Nicholas. Okay, so I have these 2 laptops, right? I got laptop A, laptop B. We know a few things about laptop A. We know that we have this equation for laptop A. For laptop B, though, we have some information as a word problem. So we need to know that, so we know we're comparing them, and we know that I'm looking to find out something about the slope, something about the x-intercept, and something about the y-intercept. So I need to find those things for both laptops. So I'm going to make a little chart, a little table to compare. Okay, so I know that laptop A is f of x equals negative 85x plus 425, but I don't have an equation for laptop B. Can anyone think of the equation that I can write to represent laptop B?
Negative 30x. I mean, my bad. Negative 90x plus 400.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we know that because when you read the problem, what was the key word that you saw that represents the slope? Like, how did you know 90 was the slope?
Decreases, and because it said each.
Each year, exactly. Slope is the rate of change. So anything that's happening each year, per year, every year, any of those words, that's how you know that's the slope. So my slope is negative 90. And then it's initially at the 400. So I know that that's my y-intercept. Now for f of x, I also know those things because I can look at my function equation. The slope is negative 85. and the y-intercept is 425. So there's only one thing I need to figure out for both of them, which is the x-intercept. So what could I do to figure out the x-intercept? I know I did problem 5 with my physical students. You guys know how to do this because we just did it with a different problem. If I'm looking for the x-intercept, what do I do? Nice, Ascanio, nice, good. We're gonna set it equal to 0. So I can take my equation and make it equal to 0. And then from there, I'm gonna figure out the value of x. So in order to get the value of x, I'm gonna run through this a little bit quickly, okay? Because like I said, I wanna get to every problem. I'm gonna subtract 425. So I get negative 425, and let me just move this over. Okay, negative 425 equals negative 85x. And then from there, I can divide both sides by negative 85. And when you do that, negative 425 divided by negative 85, did anyone get an answer for that?
Five.
5, good. So I know that the x-intercept is 5. Now I do the same thing for laptop B. Set it equal to 0. Okay, now I can solve. I'm going to subtract 400 from both sides. For negative 400 equals negative 90x. I can divide both sides. I'll move this over. Oops. Okay, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 90. And try it out. What do you get? Negative 400. 4.4, good. Awesome. Now we have everything we need. So now we look at the answer choices, take a look, read them carefully, and there's only one that is true.
B.
B, f of x has a greater x-intercept. That is correct. That's the only one that is correct. Because the x-intercept is 5, whereas the other one was 4.4. All right, any questions on this one, number 3? Little hint, little tiny hint, you will see a question like this in your near future. Number 4. All right, number 4 goes back to what we did in the bell ringer. If I want to go, okay, I'll read the whole problem really, really quickly. In fact, I'm just going to read from here because the rest doesn't really matter. If f of x represents stock A and g of x represents stock B, which equation shows the translation of the graph of stock B to that of stock A? So it's asking me if I want to go from stock B to stock A, what direction would you need to move that line if you want them to match?
You would have to go down 50.
Down 50, exactly. If I want to go from B down to A, I need to go down by 50. So then you look at the answer choices and there's only one that is telling me to go down, and that would be answer choice
A.
A, yeah. This one says
Okay,
down.
because I think D is like, oh yeah, it says G and then in parentheses X minus 50.
Yeah, so what is D telling you to do?
Subtract 50 from X.
Yeah, but on a graph, what direction would that be? Yeah.
Left.
To the right.
To the right, because remember, Dehan, we got to think backwards. If it's in the parentheses, we think backwards. Okay?
Okay.
So what about B? If let's just go straight down. B tells me to go where?
Up.
And then C?
Left.
Left, because we think backwards. All right, so that one was pretty similar to the one in the bell ringer. Any questions on number 4? Awesome. And here's number 5. So for number 5, I already did part of it with my physical kids. Basically, okay, so Cindy is trying to figure out the best route to get to her grandmother's house. The graph of the linear function f of x represents root a. So the graph, this is root a. And then root b is represented by the linear function g of x equals negative 2/3 x plus 6. So this whole thing is root b. So I already found this information, but this is very similar to the third question as well as the first question. So a lot of this has very similar things. If you have any questions or problems about that, you can look back at videos that I've recorded in the past. So now let's actually answer these questions. Based on this information, I have the slope, I have the y-intercept, and I have the x-intercept. Based on this information, on which route does Cindy travel faster?
Root B.
Root B, good. And what number did you look at to identify that?
The B. Because for root A, the B is 5, and root B, the B is 6.
Okay, but what does the B represent? What does the y-intercept represent?
Your starting point.
Your starting point. So does that tell me anything about the speed?
No, to find something out about the speed, you have to look at the slope.
Right, we look at the slope to figure out the speed. Now the slope, so you had the right answer, Dejuan, you just had the wrong reason. The slope of for root B is negative 2/3. But if you guys remember, when we're talking about which one is faster, you don't really think about the negative number because the negative just tells you which direction it's going in. It doesn't tell you anything about the steepness. But I know that 2/3 is greater than 1/2. So since 2/3 is greater than 1/2, root B is going faster. That slope is faster. Do I have any questions on that one, on part A? Cool. Part B, on which route does she travel a longer distance?
Root A.
Root B. Root
Hmm,
A.
A or B?
A.
A.
What did you look for, or what did you look at?
Well, I looked at the X.
Okay, and what does the X represent? X-intercept.
Like where it ended.
And what are the units?
Minutes.
Oh, okay, minutes. But I want to know which one travels a longer distance.
Oh.
So think about it again. Which one travels a longer distance?
B.
Root B. So Chris, you were right. Root B. And that's because what value do I look at? Not the x-intercept, but the
y-intercept.
The y-intercept, the starting distance. Root
It
A.
means it will always tell you like in the word, the unit.
Well, I don't want to say yes because there's always exceptions, but basically if it's asking for the distance, that's the y-axis. If it's asking for the amount of time, that's the x-axis. And usually if you have a graph in front of you, it'll tell you. It would. I mean, you're not supposed to just know that. In this case, I knew that because it was on the graph. So you'll always have some sort of clue to tell you which one it is. All right, so yes, root B travels a longer distance because 6 miles is greater than 5 miles. And then finally, which one takes longer to get there?
Root A.
Root A.
That one is longer, yeah. Because what did I look at for that value?
Your x-intercept.
10 minutes is longer, is greater than 9 minutes. So even though root B is going starts at a longer distance, even though root B is traveling a longer distance, it's also going faster, so it gets there first. So that's why all three things mean different. You can't just assume that one is the same as the other. You have to really think about, what does the slope mean? What does the y-intercept mean? What does the x-intercept mean? All right, so that is all for today. Like I sort of knew this was going to happen. We do not have enough time to do this now, so I'm going to make this due on Sunday at midnight. So you have some time. I'll post it on Microsoft Teams as soon as you guys leave. It'll be there. You can work on it tonight. You can work on it over the weekend, as long as you get it done before Sunday at midnight. And then the other thing that's due is your homework, which is due tonight at midnight. A lot of you guys, I know y'all have been struggling on it. It is not an easy assignment, but I'm really proud of you guys, because I know you've been trying really hard. I've seen a lot of you guys do it a few times, and that's really awesome. So keep trying, keep doing it. All right. Anything is better than a 0. So even if you only get 1 out of 4, guys, that is better than a 0. So try it. Try your best. Try your hardest. That is all from me, guys. Have a great weekend. Have a good
Bye, Miss.
See you
too.
Monday.
guys on Monday.
Bye.
Bye.